Shabbat Shalom to all my brothers and sisters, all of you, my fellow Karaites. I love you guys, and I hope that this video will be helpful. This video is actually I'm going a little different here, a little different avenue right here. This video is actually a video in answering. There are some groups of Christians out there who actually have the nerve to defend the so-called Apostle Paul, the fake Apostle Paul, phony Apostle Paul, self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. Nobody calls him an apostle but himself. When we look at historical sources, I mean real history, even the church fathers of early Christianity know about the Nazarenes and the Ebionites. These were the real followers of Yeshua, or Jesus of Nazareth, man who died over 2,000 years ago. The real followers, led originally by the brother of Jesus named James, or Jacob HaTzadik, James the righteous. Now, it's very interesting that even the church fathers of early Christianity say in their books, especially in one of them called Heresies, they say that the Nazarenes and Ebionites, all of them attest up until the 4th century, all say that Paul was an apostate to the Torah and a liar and a traitor and a complete phony. And I believe this is why, if we read Paul's letters very carefully, you'll see that he is constantly fighting back in his letters. He's constantly fighting back against people that are accusing him of being a liar. That's why constantly in the books of Paul, he's constantly saying, I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not lying to you. Now, you don't have in the book of Ezekiel or Jeremiah or any of the prophets are saying, listen, folks, I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you the truth. Usually they can give their prophecy and there's no problem. But Paul seems to have to justify himself, constantly fighting back. Now, this video is an answer to Christians out there who actually have the nerve to say that Paul was not against the Torah, and we just don't understand his letters. And they're basing this off 2 Peter, where 2 Peter actually says, you know what, it's really hard to understand Paul's letters. So therefore they use that statement. You know what, you just don't understand what he's talking about. And they use the book of Romans over and over as to justify themselves, because in the book of Romans, Paul is actually addressing an audience of not just Romans, but a Jewish audience. It's very obvious that that's why he's so nice in the letters, very passive-aggressive against the Jewish people. Therefore, he's writing very cautiously about the Jewish people. But in his other letters, when no one's listening or looking at him, in the book of Galatians, Thessalonians, he is on full assault. So we're going to go look at the words of Paul and see exactly what he says about the Torah. And I believe after this video, you will find it very, very clear that Paul absolutely was against Torah, against the Jewish followers. We're going to go deep into this. I hope after this video it will be very clear who Paul really was, based on his own statements. In Galatians chapter 3, verses 24 through 25, Paul says, Christ has redeemed us, that means saved us, from the curse of the law. The law he uses is the Greek word nomos, means law, it means Torah. Being made a curse for us. So the law was our schoolmaster. I compare that to training wheels on a bicycle. You know, when you have the training wheels because you can't ride the bike. And then he says to bring us, this schoolmaster was to bring us to the Christ, that we might be justified by faith. I believe! But after the faith has come, we are no longer under the schoolmaster. We get rid of the training wheels. We no longer need them. What do you need training wheels for? What do you need the Torah for? The Messiah died for your sins. You don't need it anymore. Now it's just, I believe. Romans chapter 7, verse 6. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead where we were held, that we should serve in the newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. But if you are led of the Spirit, You were not under the law. Listen up, Christians. You who are trying to defend him and say that he was a super Torah observant guy, or at least had respect for the Torah, that's his own words right here. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 15. Having abolished means wiping away in his flesh the ordinance, the Torah of commandments. Colossians chapter 2, verse 14. Paul speaks about blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, that were contrary to us, and nailing it to the cross. Isn't that nice? Colossians chapter 2, verse 20. So if you are dead with Christ from the vanity of the world, why, as though living in the world, are you chained to orders? Still not clear? I think it's very, very clear that Paul is telling you Torah is not his favorite thing whatsoever. If you're not clear yet, some people are going to say, no, that's not true. Some Christians will defend Paul to the death. Galatians chapter 5, verse 2. Here comes Paul talking to you, the Christian that's watching this. Behold, I, Paul, say to you that if you get circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. Not clear enough for you, huh? You still defending him? Still thinking that he's Torah observant? Let's keep going. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 20. Listen up. This is the hypocrisy of Paul. He's telling you exactly the piece of scum that he is. To the Jew, I became as a Jew. Why is that? In order to convert the Jews to those under the law as one under the law, meaning I became like a Jew, meaning Torah observant, looking like I'm Torah observant, to the Jew that was under the law, in order to convert the Jews to those under the Torah, as one under the Torah. But listen to this, Christians. Even though I myself am not under the law, in order to convert those under the law. Galatians chapter 5, verse 4. You are separated from Christ. Listen up, Messianic Jews, Messianic Christians who have the books of Paul in their Bible and still believe in them. You are separated from Christ, you who are trying to be called righteous under the Torah. You have fallen away from his undeserved kindness. Hebrews chapter 7, verses 18 through 19. So then the former Torah was put aside. Why? Because it was weak and useless. For the Torah made nothing perfect. Galatians chapter 2, verse 21. For if righteousness came from the Torah, Christ died in vain. Is it becoming clear to you? It is very clear to me. There's no question that Paul was a heretic and a liar and a complete blasphemer. Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. Christ bought us to free us from the curse of the law. Romans chapter 6, verse 14. For sin will not dominate over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace. Listen up, Messianics. Again and again and again. Romans 7, verse 6. But now we are delivered from the law, which we were held dead inside it, that we can serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. Romans 7:10. And the commandments that was given was ordained for life. We know that the Torah is life. It was given for our lives. But Paul says, but I found to be for death. Titus chapter 3, verse 9. Do not get involved in foolish discussions about spiritual pedigrees or in quarrels and fights about obedience to Jewish laws. These things are useless and a waste of time. Incredible. You want to hear what Paul really thinks of the Torah? Listen to this. You're going to get a kick out of this, my Karaite brothers and sisters, and my Muslim friends. Philippians chapter 3, verse 8. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of surpassing worth of knowing Christ, meaning Jesus, my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. Now listen to what he says about the Torah. Paul, I consider them, meaning the Torah, the commandments as a whole, as worthless as excrement. Poop. As worthless as dung. Excrement. I've never heard such disgusting, filthy statements written in a book in all my life. This is absolutely disgusting. And Paul was a filthy, disgusting person, inside and out. Now let's hear what he has to say about the disciples of Jesus that kept the Torah. There's no way around this. This is who he's addressing. He's addressing James and the apostles. Listen, in Philippians 3, verses 2 through 4, then 8 through 9. Watch out for those dogs, those evil doers, those mutilators of the flesh, meaning circumcision. For it is we who are of the circumcision, we who serve God by his Spirit. I believe! Though I myself have reasons for such confidence, if someone else thinks that they have reasons to put confidence in the flesh, I have more, he says. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4, listen up. For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, or if you receive a different spirit from a spirit you received, or a different gospel. How many gospels are there? Well, obviously Paul is addressing somebody who's teaching another teaching about Jesus. And we know that there's only one group there, the Nazarenes or the ebionites. Verse 5 says, I do not think that I am superior to those super apostles. He doesn't think they're super apostles. He's mocking them. He's talking about, I'm not inferior to those super apostles. Let's keep going. Listen, this is really interesting. Look how he's talking about these followers, okay? In 2 Corinthians 11, verse 22, again, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more, he says. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 11, 12, and 16 says, I have made a fool of myself, but you drove me to it. He's talking to his followers. I ought to have been commended by you, for I am not inferior to those super apostles. He says again, super apostles. Even though I am nothing, I persevered in demonstrating among you the marks of a true apostle, including signs, wonders, and miracles. Be that as it may, I may not have been a burden to you, yet crafty. Listen up how he talks about himself. Crafty a fellow I am, I caught you by trickery. Meaning I tricked you into following me. Listen to this. Galatians 5, verse 10 and 12. I am trusting the Lord to keep you from believing false teachings. God will judge that person, whoever he is, who has been confusing you. I wish that those troublemakers who want to mutilate you by circumcision would mutilate themselves. Wow. Galatians chapter 2, verse 6. Again, he's mocking the disciples. Those who seemed important had nothing to add to me. He means, I didn't learn from these guys. They had nothing to add to me. And here he goes with the protesting over and over. And I'm not lying. Romans 9, verse 1. I am speaking the truth in Christ. I'm not lying. Galatians chapter 1, verse 20. Now regarding these things I am writing to you. I assure you before God, I'm not lying. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 7. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not lying. You know what kind of people say, I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth, I'm not lying? Liars. Shalom. Now, Mr. Messianic, I hope you understand now that Paul was not Torah friendly. He was a heretic. Shalom.